So I just heard you say you are sick and tired of working with B2B SaaS companies. So what, tell me more about that. Why are you tired of the SaaS guys?
I mean, I think that the SaaS guys are tired of the SaaS guys. Like, let me be clear. Let me be clear. These are my people. This is my industry. Like, this is my niche. This is what I've been doing for almost all of my entire career. We are committed. We are in a marriage. I will never leave them. But,
Yeah.
the industry, especially right now, there's so much pressure from all sides. It's like you're working with
Mm,
businesses that are usually, they've taken a bunch of money by the time that I get to them. So they have a million people telling them what to
mm.
do. They're feeling immense pressure. They've taken on more responsibility than they've ever taken on in their entire
Are they
lives.
making money?
Like personally or like as a business?
No, the business that's taking on the money, are they making money? I'm just curious because there's so much in the AI and
Yeah.
tech SaaS, but like, and I know I see them taking money. I'm just curious if they're actually like making money.
Most of them are. The founders that I work with tend to be um, profitable,
Mm,
or close to profitable by the time that I get to them. And actually, I do work with like a pretty high percentage. I would say like 30% of my founders are either bootstrapped or they raise one
mm,
small round and then they just become profitable after that because people I think have gotten a lot smarter about what it actually means to take VC money. But I
mm.
also work with companies that are like, we raised a Series A, we got all this
Yeah.
cash, we got to go spend it now. I mean, I also had a company last year that was kind of, they didn't need to raise a Series A and it was forced on them by their investors, and they kind
Mm,
of like couldn't spend the they were earning more on the interest from the cash faster than they were actually spending it because they didn't
mm,
actually need to expand that much. And I think that that happens more often than people realize. So, like getting that extra 10 million or 20 million cash infusion isn't necessarily a
yeah.
good thing. And I think that more founders are becoming a little bit savvier about that.
Yeah, you said something before we dove in that I want to circle back on. You said you would almost rather work with like $1 million landscaping company. And
Yeah.
a lot of my friends, personal friends, are like home services business owners, and they're all 1 million to $6 million. So like
Tell them to call
investment
me.
property builders. But yeah, plumbers. So I love them. Why? Because it's like it's a real business that you could just see the results of it. But why do you love them?
Totally. So in our little bubble, right, of B2B SaaS and people that are hanging out on LinkedIn all day, of which I am one,
Mm,
there's
hmm.
just so much information that's floating around, and people are constantly debating about like, should we do gap selling? Should we do medic? Like, have you heard about spice? Blah, 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 blah.
Mm,
Everyone's got a freaking opinion. It's like they've got investors telling them what to do that have never been operators. They've got,
mm,
AEs and like sales leaders coming into their company being like, I've got the playbook. This is what I did at my last
mm,
company. Everybody's got a freaking opinion on like how the thing should work. And I mean, candidly, a lot of my job when I work with larger companies in the scale of companies
mm,
that I work with is like pulling apart and disambiguating all of the random advice that they've gotten and that they've also picked
yeah.
up from following influencers. I get slacks all the time from the founders that I work with. And they're like, did you see this post from Jason Lemkin? What do you think about this? I was listening to this podcast. And like a lot of it, I mean, it's all good information for someone, but it's not necessarily good information
Yeah.
for them. And so I spend a ton of time helping people to kind of figure out like what they should actually be listening to and how to understand if the advice that
Mm,
they're getting or the ideas that they're seeing out in the market are appropriate for them, right? And
mm.
so sometimes, I look at these other businesses where I'm just like, man, they're just like focused on operating their business. Like you said, it's a real business. They've got customers. They're selling a real thing that people need. People need to mow their lawns. And I'm
Yeah.
like, man, I just know that if I could take like some of the like high powered, high grade, like sales knowledge that I've accumulated in
Mm.
like 15, 17 years selling to enterprises and just apply it to these
Yeah.
businesses, like I could make someone's lawn care business explode in Austin,
I
Texas.
saw I see kind of two types of guys in these, and this is I don't, maybe because I am an operator by nature. Like I've never wanted to be the guy in the limelight, which is funny because I love these podcasts. But
Yeah.
I've never wanted to be like the lead entrepreneur. So I tend to be attracted to these guys that are really good connectors. And I don't mean that as a buzzword, but like the $6 million investment property builder, I watch him in the gym, like, or in the sauna, and just the way he talks to people. He's not even trying to sell, but he's so good at building that rapport that
Yeah.
he makes the business happen. So
Yeah.
what are you telling those guys? Because I don't even think that he knows he's not, well, he knows he's not scalable, but I don't think that he knows that what he's doing is so rare and such $1 million skill set that I don't know that he thinks to like get other people to do it or try to find a way to package up what he does.
Yeah, that's exactly the thing. And I mean, that's a lot of coaching, right? Is getting
Yeah.
people to understand what it is that they know and then getting them to teach it to somebody else. And I mean, candidly, it's the same thing with like a SaaS founder. You've, you're one of my clients, let's say, and you're like, I don't know, I don't really know how to do sales. I'm not really good at this. I'm just going to do whatever this person tells me. And I'm like, you sold $2 million of a brand new
Yeah.
product by yourself while you were
Yeah.
also managing everyone else in the company. Like, you're really good at sales. You're probably better at sales than me. Like,
Yeah.
give yourself some credit. But the trick is being able to know what you yourself know so that you can teach it to
Mm,
other people. That's level
mm,
one. And then level two is like, okay, are you able to pull apart? Well, these are the things that I did, but then these are the
mm,
things that I did that were actually the things that made me successful. Here's what we keep
mm.
and here's what we leave behind at every stage. And then that's where like the real magic happens, because another trap that people can fall into is they're like, I did this thing and it worked, and I'm just going to keep pressing this
Yes.
button. And if it's not working anymore, I guess I just need to press the button more. And it's like, well, no,
Yeah.
you need to, you need to keep moving, you need to evolve. But 100%, like I have a friend right now who is, he has like a fashion business. He makes
Mm,
like leather bags and shoes.
mm,
He just opened a store in my neighborhood, and they're crushing. Like
mm,
they're doing tons of business. They have
mm.
TikTok influencers organically coming in and making content about the
That's
store
great.
for
Yeah.
free, bringing in
Yeah.
hundreds of people a day. And it's all happening. And he's planning on opening 12 more of these stores in the next 2 years. Um, but like his plan, he's an amazing salesperson. And
Mm,
I wish that I'm going to try to teach him how to like get what he does out of his head. And if he could
yeah.
make a sales training program and he could
Yeah.
make 10 people that were half as good as him in the next 2 years,
Mm,
it would
mm.
be, $100 million business instead of like a
Yeah, what is that?
business.
I think there's a misunderstanding here because on the one hand, in your example, the guy said, "Oh, I'm not good at sales," but then also
Yeah.
my friend, when we were in a cigar lounge, he's telling me, "Oh, I'm talking to the president of so and so bank, and I know I got to give him a little future casting, and then I know I'll probably follow up with them in about 2 weeks." And he's like, "I'm really good at giving people space," but like
Okay.
what he just did in his head is like CRM automation stuff, and he doesn't even know it. So like
Totally.
he's good at sales, right? But when he meets someone like you that's like, "Oh, let's go train sales," he might tell you, "Well, I'm not really good at sales. I don't know what I'm doing." So what is that misunderstanding? Like what's the connection they're not making in their head about, no, that is sales, and that's how you generate leads, and that's how you get opportunities in pipeline?
It's such a good question. I mean, I would ask you for your friend, like, how did he learn how to do that? Do you know?
No, I believe he's a natural. I really do. Maybe that's a cop
Yeah.
out. Would you? I'm an ops guy, and so I blend toward reality too fast. And like, would you coach me out of that and be like, there's no such thing as naturals?
No, I do believe that there is such a thing as naturals, and you can tell who they are because um, they will naturally kind of fall into the right behaviors. And the
Mm,
difference is that they're focused on the goal. So especially with entrepreneurs, this they can be good at this very easily because they're
mm,
super focused on their goal. They are 100% committed to their business. They're invested. They're all in, right? And
mm,
so they wake up every morning thinking, how am I going to make this happen today? Like, what are the things that
mm,
I need to do today to make something happen? And they've been doing that for the entire time that they've had their business, and they were probably doing that before too, which is why they became an entrepreneur. And so if
Yeah.
you're thinking, if you remove the ego and you remove the like, well, here's what I read in this sales book that I like or whatever,
Mm,
and you're just approaching it from a place of, let me let me just break down this problem logically. What does this person
mm,
need to be able to say yes to me? And you're like really focusing
mm,
on the other person and you're reading them. That is the essence of sales. And there's like, so there's it's kind of like a bell curve. So people, when they're
mm,
just starting out and they know nothing, they're great at that because they have no bad
mm,
habits. They have no weird tricks that they're trying to do that they've like learned that
mm,
someone told them was a good idea. They're really just like reading the other person and thinking, how can I get them to where I want them to go?
mm,
And
mm.
then there's like the middle phase. Um, it's like the Dunning-Kruger effect. It's like,
The middle of the bell, right?
yeah, the middle of the bell,
Yeah.
where you know just enough to be dangerous, and you're like,
Mm,
"Oh, yeah, I'm gonna use this, like, reverse technique that I read in this Chris Voss book, and, like, I'm gonna say
mm.
this thing because it's like a pattern interrupt." And honestly, this is the mediocre middle of salespeople, and
Okay, but tell me, I'm sorry to cut you off, but
yeah,
so in I want you to tell us what you do at large after this because I want to
sure.
keep talking about successful sales versus bad sales. But I've done what they call, my discipline is what they call revenue operations. And
Uh-huh.
in short, you could say it's the operational support of sales teams or your revenue
Yes.
systems is one way of looking at that. So I've been on the sales floors with like 20 to 100, whatever acronym you want, AEs, SDRs, BDRs,
Uh-huh.
salespeople at large, boys and girls at this point. I'm a little bit older now. So like these are like, fresh out of college,
Yeah.
young men and women. And I do hear ambition, but also I hear a lot of horrible things when they're on this other side of the bell curve. And part of that is because in my industry we buy very expensive software, so
Uh-huh.
salespeople are always trying to court me. So when they say things like, "Hey, can I just pick your brain for a minute?" or "Hey, just a quick follow up," or like
Yeah.
I hear all these cringeworthy things
So
that the person
cringe.
on the on the young side of the bell curve is. So what do you mean? What's that balance there between like, oh, they have an advantage on this side of the bell curve? Is there really an advantage? Or like, do you see more people get derailed because they're too far down on the bell curve?
So I would say that, great example, by the way. And honestly, I miss working. I miss having those sales floors and just being able to eavesdrop
Yeah.
on everyone's calls all the
It's so
time.
energizing. It's the
It's
weirdest
so,
thing ever. I tell
so
people, I'm like,
interesting.
yeah, go get on a floor where like 40 young mid 20 something year olds are just trying to hit a number, and it's a very invigorating experience.
Yeah, it's like there's so much creativity. So I would say
Yes.
that like at the point where you've been hired as a whatever AEBDR, whatever acronym it is at a company, and you're like learning the ropes there, you're already getting into the middle of the bell curve. The people that are at the very
Okay.
beginning
Okay.
are like your friend, are people that would not consider themselves salespeople, but they're doing
Mm,
sales things every day because they're making shit happen in life, right?
mm,
It's like the hey, do you have 27 seconds to hear why I called? Or like the quick
mm,
question, or like, hey, just wanted to get your feedback on this, blah, blah, blah.
mm.
That's the point where people are
Horrible. I
starting
want to
to,
hang up already.
oh my God, it's so bad. It's so bad. People like that's people that are starting to use like sales techniques and they're like, yeah, I got this
Mm,
trick and like, it's gonna work.
mm,
That's the long winding path of learning that you get to. And then when you get to the other side of that, the truly elite salespeople, they're really
mm.
back to doing the same thing. They're completely focused on the buyer. They're reading the whole situation and they're like, what do I have to do to make this happen? But the difference is
Yeah.
on the other side is that you're doing it at a much higher level because you've
Yes.
studied how buyers work, how buying committees work at enterprises, like how procurement
Yeah.
happens, like what you need to do to get technical people on board, how you have to talk
Mm,
about implementation, all the technical aspects of sales, it and you're versed in the techniques. And so you have a toolbox and you know which
mm.
tool to pull out at which time, but you're not like a little mini assembly line of sales where you're like, this is what I
Yeah.
do. And like, this is my process every single time.
Well, here was the largest deal I've ever sat on was 23 million from an ops
Nice.
capacity. Yeah, it was really tremendous. But even before that, I remember a stakeholder. he got it. He closed PepsiCo, and he got an award from the CEO.
Wow.
The award said biggest commission check I've ever written. You know, so I've seen. So what was fascinating to me on these good sellers is there were two things that I noticed. And again, I don't consider myself a good seller, so this is all armchair quarterbacking. First off, there's a measure of predictability in really good sellers that, in my opinion, companies pay a lot of money on the base pay for. Like
Yeah,
if they commit it to forecasts and they're going to close at Q3,
it's gonna
like
happen.
they have a technical skill set that's going to make that happen. So that's like your
Yeah,
weather maker or your
yeah,
haymaker. And I think we get the wrong idea of that from TV. Like it's not a bunch of screaming and like mental tricks. It was really a
yeah,
lot of logistical hurdles that got out of there. And then secondly, they were so human. Like I remember on the $23 million deal, these were all VPs, very senior tech guys, and just the ability for them to sit comfortably in a room and talk to other execs and like have a normal
mhm,
conversation. And the 23 million wasn't like they weren't you didn't have commission breath is what they call it. They weren't
yeah.
thinking about the
You're not getting
deal.
all weird.
I noticed that to me was like, okay, this is what seasoned sellers are. This is why they make so much money, not because they're good at all this objection, at overcoming these objections or like have this super charismatic personality. It's because of a certain maturity. So what do you see? What's the other side of the bell curve that we haven't talked to yet? The really successful one.
I mean, it's exactly the same, and like the similarities between the two ends of the spectrum here is focus on the buyer, absolute focus on the person on the other side of the table. You cease to exist. It's not about you. It's not about your
Mm,
needs. It's not about your goals, right? That's where commission breath comes in. Where it's
mm,
like, I gotta close this deal.
yeah.
That's you're putting your attention back on yourself. In the middle, sellers, the trap that they get into is that they start to think about themselves. How am I coming across? Am I getting through all my
Mm,
discovery questions? Like, am I being clever? Am I reversing the questions here? Am I getting the
yeah.
little buy-ins? Like whatever it is that whatever thing they're trying to like execute
Mm.
in the conversation, they're more focused on their own performance, and they naturally lose sight of a lot of signals from the buyer in the process of doing that, and then that's where you start to feel that disconnect in the conversation.
Yeah, I think also because I'm an ops guy and have done sales ops so long, like if I'm on a good sales call, I'm like feeding this guy or gal, like here's my income,
Yeah.
and then it burns me up when like the next question is like, well, so tell me a little bit about how much your business made last year. And I'm like, oh, dang, like I just gave you everything in the first sentence. Like you're clearly stumbling on your script. Um, but
Totally.
tell us real quickly. So, what do you do and who do you do it for primarily? And
Mhm.
then let's unpack that some as a service and talk about like what the viewers here could really take from your expertise and what you bring to the market.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I run MSP Consulting. I work with B2B SaaS founders between 1 and 10 million ARR, and I help them basically cut through all of the noise around sales and GTM and build
Mm,
sustainable, scalable revenue teams. And this kind of breaks down in three stages. So, the first stage at which I would work with somebody is it's usually between 1 and 3 million ARR, but it can vary. Like I've been working with a lot more AI native companies that started with a PLG or self-serve motion. So maybe their sales maturity is less when they have more revenue, maybe around 5, 6 million for them. In
mm,
any case, they are, they have some enterprise mid-market customers. It's usually the founder that's been handling all those relationships. And they're like, I'm hitting my own capacity in this function. I know I need to get myself out of this job. Maybe
mm,
they've tried to hire a couple of people, it didn't work out. And they're like, I need to nail this. Like, I can't keep doing this by myself, and I can't fuck up another hire.
yeah.
How do I take what I've been doing, get it out of my head, but then also make it into something that somebody else can follow? And another question that I get at that stage is like, who should I even be hiring at this point? Like, should I hire one AE, five AE? Should I hire a super senior business development person? Should I hire a BDR? Should I hire a VP of sales? Like they're kind of like trying to figure out like what the next best move for them is. And so what I help them do at that stage is take what they've been doing that works, add,
Mm,
all of the infrastructure of a sales process around it and infuse like, obviously improvements on what they've been doing,
mm,
and then get them ready to, well, actually really just help them like start hiring their first team members and make sure that those people are successful. Stage two is when somebody already has a small team. And usually it's, a couple of AEs, maybe it's a business development person or something like that. Um, and typically what I see is that they are having success, right? Like they are closing deals. But if we're really honest, if we look at how that's happening, it's not because of really any kind of system that's in place. It's because
mm.
some of the people that they hired are good. Like they've
Yeah.
got a couple of people on their team that figured out how to make this work.
Yeah.
Um, but we know that it's really hard to repeat those people.
Yeah.
We cannot clone them. And so if you've got two or three people, if we hire two or three more this year, it's not going to be equivalently successful.
Yeah.
It's not
Can
gonna
we
scale
can
the
we
same.
unpack that some? So
Yeah.
like so are the stages in your view of the business, is that based on revenue or is that based on like some kind of company maturity, like who they've hired or what's doing what function?
It's both. It roughly
Okay.
correlates to revenue. So like this second stage would
Yeah.
be stage one is like 1 to 3 million. Stage
Yeah.
two is like 3 to 5. And then stage three is like 3 to 10. And these are pretty kind of accepted traditional
Yeah.
growth stages in SaaS.
So,
Um,
but my question then is, sorry to cut you off. So like
Sure.
on that first hire, like I have a bet. I would tell who I think my friend, the natural seller at 6 million, I think he needs someone that's qualifying and setting calls for him.
That's
So
right.
who do you actually put in as a first hire?
I would generally say the same. Like
Yeah.
it, and
Okay.
again, it's going to depend a little bit on like what the company's sales motion is. So for
Yeah.
example, if you're like PLG company that's been acquiring a lot of customers through self-serve, that's not going to be your first hire because you don't need to do, first of all, don't start doing outbound yet, and secondly secondly, most of your inbound leads probably aren't going to sales. And if they are, like, you can just send those directly to a salesperson. You don't need to BDR just to qualify. So in that case, I would say that your first hire should be an AE. But what the first thing that you should do is, like, as a founder, if you're listening to this, make an inventory of the sales jobs that you are doing right now. What are the GTM hats that you wear throughout the week? And how much time are you spending on each one? And then think about, like, what is the easiest place to delegate? And so for a lot of founders that I talk to, the reason that they've become the bottleneck is because their calendar is literally full of sales calls and they're dropping balls on deals because they're
Yeah.
also, like running a company at the same time. And so in
Yeah.
that case, like the bottleneck that they need to unlock for themselves is like they need an AE. They need someone else to run deal cycles. Then
Yeah.
once you've got that pipeline flowing and you've got like a really good mid-funnel management process, then you can layer on somebody to help you with more top of funnel. But it really just depends on kind of the mechanics of your business.
Something I've noticed in this market, so what I would call, well, it's still small to medium business for sure. When I say go to market GTM, so you keep talking about GTM, they seem clueless as to like what that means. And
Yeah,
like I'm automating the guy that owns this co-working space, he has a sign business. He wanted to automate it. I'm like, great.
nice.
Here's how a $700 million company does it. And I draw a big cross on the board. I'm like, this is your quote to cash process. And this is how
Uh-huh.
you go to market.
And he's like, the
And
what?
here's the, yeah, because nobody's thought about that. But so
Yeah.
tell me more about what is that? It's not an objection, but what do you face when you're talking to someone that is successful for sure, like 6 million to 12 million? Good job. You've done a good
Great.
job.
Yeah.
But what are you telling them when you're like, all right, let's look at your go to market and you need a BDR or an SDR? Like what? Like, how do you start that conversation with them?
Well, so actually, when I start working with people, I have an exercise that I have all my clients go to that it
Mm,
is called a GTM assessment. But I try not, I was going to
as
say,
it
I try
should
not.
be. Yeah.
As it should be. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I break down what does GTM actually mean into a couple of different categories. So I'm like, okay, let's look at your ideal customer profile and your value
Mm,
positioning. Now let's look at how you're getting your leads. Now let's look at your sales process. Now let's look at your team management. Then let's look at what happens post
mm,
sales, on down the line. And so I break down for them very specifically. When I say GTM, here's what I mean. It's these six
yeah.
categories. And then also depending on the stage that you're at. So if you're, 1 to 3 million, this is what good looks like specifically in
Mm,
each of those categories. And how would you score yourself against that right now on a scale of one to
mm,
five and why? And we have a 90-minute meeting and we talk about it. We go through
mm,
all of their answers together. And that's one of the ways that, we initially agree on like what are the first priorities that we should be working on together. I try not to use too much jargon with my clients because candidly, like
mm.
they don't need to know what tofu is. Like they don't need to know
Yeah.
what DTM means. Like
Yeah.
they just need to know that this part of their business is taken care of. And this is one of the reasons that I was saying before. Sometimes I'm like, oh, B2B SaaS, so annoying because we really
Mm,
like to make ourselves sound smart and we really like to
mhm,
overcomplicate things. Like now marketing and demand gen is called GTM engineering all of a sudden just
mm.
because people are using clay. And I'm like, it's demand gen. Like this, it's marketing. It's
Yeah.
marketing. It's MQLs. This is a function that's always existed, and we just rebranded it to like appeal to like a new demographic.
Yeah, to be clear, I love Clay.
Me
It's
too.
really groundbreaking what they did, but, I also and maybe it's I'm aging myself or other people who are grumpy like this, but like go to market. I used to tell people a long time ago, you're not in business until you earn a dollar from someone who's not your mama or your auntie or your little brother Jimmy. But
Totally.
like that's go to market. You got to get the dollar. And to get the dollar, you need product market fit, you need
Yeah.
qualified leads, you
Need
need
an offer.
conversations with them. Yeah. And so
Yeah.
none of those have changed. I agree with you. None of those have changed. I do wonder the star back to the just because I'm in the SaaS world, it's like there
Mhm.
is this starry eyed gaze on all these tools. Is it distracting them from the hardest part of the business, which is like
Yeah.
go create revenue? Or like
Yes.
why what's happening here? Like why do people care so much about more enriched leads as opposed to did you call them?
Dude, I mean, so like we've seen this cycle before, right? Like if you've been in SaaS for a little while, every time that we get new capabilities, shiny new technology, we completely
Mm.
lose our shit. And like this is why, we can't have nice things in sales, I say. But
I'm
like if
not okay, so I by no means want to age you, but do you remember the dot-com bubble? Or is that like in your sphere of
no.
memory?
I mean, yeah, no, I was not in the workforce at that time, but I do remember it. I was on the planet and I was paying attention sort
Yeah.
of.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
So I remember I was in a taxi cab in San Francisco. I had just joined the military, and I back then you just like would talk to these guys in the cab, and I was like, "Oh, how'd you get? You like driving a cab? How'd you get in that?" He's like, "Oh, I was in the .com burst," and the one thing that I remember from that time and this time that we're in now is like all these really expensive Super Bowl ads, and I'm not saying I have like a crystal ball,
Yeah.
but like we had sock puppets on Super Bowl ads for tech firms that probably should have never been in business. And
That are
just
not
now,
making money, that are not
that's
profitable.
it. And this will release
Yeah.
in March. And like we saw a huge spike in Super Bowl ads again. And I'm just like, dang, is this the sign of another bubble? Like what's happening here? Are these people making money?
They're not, I was listening to a podcast earlier this week from I Love 20 VC and I listened to all of their interviews with like heads of sales and heads of growth. And this was Elena Verna from
Mm.
Lovable. And she had some
I love
takes that,
Lovable. Also, shout out to Lovable.
right? Like who doesn't?
Great. Yeah. Yeah.
Great, amazing company. And like, I mean, she's so smart and she had so many hot takes on this podcast. One of them that I did agree with is, she's like, we didn't do a Super Bowl ad, and I'm
Mm.
glad that we didn't do a Super Bowl ad. She's like,
Mm.
I watched the ads. Wix had ads, obviously,
Mm.
they're a big competitor. And she's like, I just feel that it wasn't the best. Like our strategy is not that. Our strategy is more community led, and we're going to continue to invest in those things.
Yeah.
We would do other sporting events, things that are more niche, but Super Bowl is probably not where
Yeah.
we need to be. But another thing that she said that I wasn't sure if I agreed with was that like the math of the large LLMs right now, and like pretty much any like big AI company. I mean, they spend,
Mm,
I think Claude spends $5,000 a month for a $200 a month subscription user.
mm,
That's what they're burning right now, and I think
yeah,
OpenAI is burning even more. They just shut down Sora because they were spending $10 million a day to support
yeah,
Sora. It's like the numbers are out of hand, and her take was that they must be doing this because they believe that the cost of compute will go down significantly in the future. And I'm like, there's so many people that are invested in that not happening, like all the data center
yeah.
companies and all the chip makers. And so I don't know how this is all gonna shake out and,
I have a
bringing.
I have a
Go ahead.
theory on that. I the
Yeah,
For the last 4 months, I was consulting for one of those names, and I'm not allowed
okay,
to say the name because it was
that's fine.
NDA. But
Great.
so we'll call him Big AI.
Okay,
And Big AI, I got a query through one of my support capacities. They wanted to know a list of all the billing orgs that were in one particular country that were not in their CRM. And
okay,
I was like, well, that's a strange question. So what that means is
yeah,
that they're receiving money. They're getting auto payments from an entity that they don't have clearly identified in their customer
mhm,
database through a sales capacity. Like, I'm not talking about gap principles, and I don't speak for these people on
or
any sort of
whatever,
financial
yeah,
projections. So I ran it, and there were like 2,000 entities paying them, and the invoices year to date, and it was February, were in the millions.
wow,
So my I guess my point in saying that is when I saw the actual transactions, they are making billions.
yeah,
And my theory is that when people are getting sticker shock and they didn't scale up their accounting, or they did, and only a few people know this at the top,
yeah,
they're not scaling up to say, okay, I made billions and I spent X%
trillions,
billions more to
yeah,
make it, you know?
yeah,
So I think everyone sees a lot of money, everyone from the investor,
mhm,
so you mentioned OpenAI rolled off the Disney deal. I think that was a weird fit to begin with, but also like, um, Disney pouring billions into an AI company. It's like they've had Pixar, CGI's been with us for a long time. So again, my point in that too is that they see the money. And so it's
yeah.
almost like this weird little thing where everyone's like, no, there's a lot of money here. Somebody's going to win somehow. We're
We
just going to
gotta
pour
do
a bunch into it.
something. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It is. It's like this weird gold rush mentality, and like,
Yeah.
like I think the dot-com bubble is a really good example because that there was huge fallout from that. And is the internet, and like, do companies have to operate on the internet today in order to be profitable, and are people making a ton of money in ecom businesses? Absolutely. So
Mm.
it's not like it's going to go away, but
Well,
bringing
someone's
it,
going to lose. There's going to
a
be
lot of
a
people,
couple
yeah,
giants are going to fall. And I do think, and I am, if I was taking bets, I'd be betting on the companies that are running ads already. I mean, if you look at the way Google survived and you look at the way Meta survived, like,
yeah.
I don't know, you guys are ahead of the curve and you're probably going to win. So I know it's not
Yes, they
popular,
are
but
gonna win. Yeah, that was also, yes, yeah. I mean, I won't get into like all the growth tactics right now because that's not my area really. But bringing this back to GTM, one of the traps that I see people falling into is they're really overcomplicating this, and they
mm,
feel like they have to have this like hyper automated, like hyper scalable strategy that is leveraging all of these AI tools, or else they're stupid and they're missing out and
yeah,
they're like not going to be competitive. But you have to look at, my friend Olio Grovel said this really well on LinkedIn yesterday. You have to look at who is selling you this vision and why. And the majority
mm,
of the time, it is people who are running AI consulting businesses, who are setting up
yeah,
AI GTM stacks for companies. And it's like you see these posts and they're like, grab my playbook, and you're like, oh, that looks so good. We should be having something like that. Our
mm,
CRM is a mess. But then when you actually break it down, what they're asking you to spend like $30,000 a
yeah,
month on tools. And you still
yeah.
have to have someone to run the whole stack and make sure that all of the automations are flowing, et cetera, et
Yeah, I
cetera.
just want to
And
call
it's
out
like,
that CRMs have been a mess for a long time with or without AI.
and they will continue to be.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
so what is so bring us back to sales then, like, because I tell people that AI is like the next tractor. And I know that's a weird analogy, but like 100 years ago, if you would have told me my brother and I plowed our 50-acre field over the weekend, a lot of hard work. We drank some lemonade at the end of it and had a beer. It was a good time. I'd be like, oh, great job, Dan. But like, it's like tomorrow or Monday, if you were like, oh yeah, Dan and I plowed the 100-acre field with an ox and a backhoe, I've been like, bro, like
what are you
John Deere's are
doing?
2,000. Yeah.
Yeah,
So at some point we will hit a point where if you told me you typed 2,000 cold outreach emails
right,
and like did all your FAQ objection overcoming by phone, I'd be like, dang, dude, you just lost $1 million in time.
right.
So what's the balance? Like, what's good sales? What's the good sales practice? And then how do you see it layering on? Because you're right, it's not going to go anywhere. But I agree with you. It's like it's being poured on strangely right now.
Yeah. So, going back to our earlier conversation about the bell curve, the thing that AI can supply is information, context, and
Mm,
analysis. What it cannot supply is attention. And when you think
yeah.
about, I'm going to get a little bit esoteric here, but when you think about like what sales really is, especially at the mid-market and enterprise level, I'm not talking about high volume, I'm not talking about SMB. What it is you are moving someone from one state to another state,
That's
and
so
you're
good. Yeah.
and you're moving them through several steps along that journey. And if you're doing a $23 million deal or even a $230,000 deal, you've got multiple pieces on your chessboard, and you're moving
Hmm.
multiple stakeholders and getting them to form a group together, and then you're all moving them to one place at approximately the same time.
Hmm.
And what that requires is it's an energetic process.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that is something like, like you were saying about those guys that were sitting in that room for the $23 million deal. That is something that is deeply human. And what AI can do is it can help
Yeah.
us to get to that place faster. And it can help us to have a better conversation with a lot less time and input on our side when we are in that room. Like I used to spend 6, 8 hours making a proposal deck to close a
Mm,
deal. Now I
mm,
brain dump into Claude. I have Claude make an
yeah.
outline. I put it into Gamma and it makes it for me, right? So
Yeah.
there are things that you can speed up, but what the wrong question to ask, and I do hear this sometimes from people, is they're like, "Oh, great. We love that you've implemented deal scorecard methodology, like deal
Mm,
scoring. How do we automate that? How do we can we just like get the discovery
mm,
calls to just go into the scorecard and it'll just tell us how
mm,
qualified the deal is?" And I'm like, dude, wrong question. Like,
yeah.
what? Like, you need to trust, like, it is part of your salespeople's job to go through
Mm,
and, like, okay, well, why do you think that they have a
mm.
strong business need? And what is that based on all of the things that you've picked up? And, like, sure
Let's
that, yeah,
let's do the esoteric for a minute because I
let's
I
go there.
love I love a good tinfoil hat. Something I've noted, and I lived in Boulder 4 years. Full disclosure, so like
Okay, let's go.
I can go deep down the rabbit hole. I think your comment about energy is really weird, is really spot on. And I said weird as a Freudian slip
Yeah.
because what comes after it is this weird observation.
Uh-huh.
AI generated content feels energetically
Dead.
shallow and dead. There you
Dead.
go. Or
Yeah.
it's inorganic. It's not alive.
Yeah.
And and so that's observation number one. And then observation number two is that you can say the most ratchet stuff online now. And if you're just talking like a human, it hits. It's like you get
Yes.
attention. People want to talk to you. You feel the energy come back into the room, a comment thread.
Right.
And I've actually been loving this moment in our brief history because if you trace it back to recent, I know you want to talk about personal brands. I want to hear you on that because
Yeah.
if you trace back recent evolution of attention getting, there's what I
Mhm.
call the Hormazi phase, where
Mhm.
he just did
Mhm.
really good with like these hot caps and quick cuts, and then
Yeah.
everyone had to catch up because like the algorithm really served that. And again, back to energy too, algorithm is just like figuring out what the real humans are actually paying attention to. I don't think it's like
Right.
this mystical thing.
Yeah,
But
it's chasing
now,
us really. Like it's just trying to
yes,
follow us around. Yeah.
but we're on the flip side of that now. Like when you just sit and say something for real and it just came from the back of your heart, like if you want to get into, and like it went right through the throat chakras and like stayed somewhere, but it just, if it's just real, it's so good. It feels so human and people have that conversation and it's closing deals. So what do
Mhm.
you see in that scope? Because I honestly, you could say money's esoteric. That's sort of a different conversation, but
It is.
sales
Yeah.
is a very interesting, uh not battle, but like some people are using the process to deliver real results to real people who want to solve their problem anyway, and other people are truly manipulating, but like when
Mhm.
you can sit with this for a moment, you can feel through that, and I feel like sometimes those feelings are what are making those decisions.
They are 100%, and I think it's, like, actually exactly the same thing, the point that you just made about content, which is a great point, which is that, like, there are a ton of accounts on every platform, and then a lot of you'll get, like, a couple 100,000 followers, but over time, when you start to look at it, you're like, every single one of these carousels was written by AI, and
Mm,
I almost know what this person's prompt is, because 'cause they're just it's
mm,
kinda like the same thing over and over, and it's like, every 2 weeks, I'm gonna post something like this, and then I'm gonna make a point
mm-hmm,
about this, and it's like, I also have content pillars, I have, like,
mm,
categories of things that I write about,
mm,
but and I also use AI to help me write because the amount of
yeah,
content that we have to put out now, as people with personal brands, it cannot be a fully artisanal process. However, I never would post something that comes directly from AI, and I would never have AI tell me what I should be writing about. And that's why my content hits, and it doesn't always hit, but
yeah,
when it does, my 2 top posts in the last month, one was, like, a very personal, like, very specific breakdown of how
mm-hmm,
I hack travel points to fly business class for free.
mm-hmm,
I don't fly economy ever. And then the second
yeah,
one was a post that was like, um, "Here's a list of things that Americans claim to like that are actually terrible." And I was like, "I'm gonna piss everyone off with this post." I tested it in a couple of my friends' group chats first, and every single person in the chat was like, "Ketchup? What do you have against ranch dressing?" And I'm like, "Okay, everyone's gonna have
yeah,
something to say about this." And it crushed.
yeah,
And like AI would never tell me to write that, And so I think that also in sales, there are people that the best salespeople they are persistent and they are
mm,
savvy negotiators because in the back of their mind, they're like, you need this. I know
yeah,
that you need this. I know that it's going to help you. Yeah,
yeah,
I cannot rest until you have this thing because
mm,
I know how much it's going to do for you, and you don't know that yet, but I know it, and trust me.
mm,
And people can feel that. And, like, when I
yeah,
think about the best deals that I've closed, all of them were like that. I'm like, you
yeah,
get off the call and you're like, "Oh my god, this is gonna be so good for them." And it's not
yeah,
about drinking the Kool-Aid and thinking that your product is so great. It's about seeing a little opportunity in this
mm,
person's situation where you're like, "I have something for you. I can help you."
yeah.
And then there's the people that are like, they're showing up every day and they're playing the game and they're asking the discovery questions and they're saying the thing. Just like the people that are, posting AI generated content are like, there's hooks. They're talking about something real, but it's not actually real because there's not that feeling behind it.
I just don't know how I actually took it upon myself to start a book that like may or may not get published, but the
Congratulations. That's great.
first yeah, thank you. It's also it's funny because a lot of what you're describing sales is what I would call leadership, like an
Mm,
authenticity in there. And so but it's tempting I did start with AI to be clear. And it's like, all right, well what am I really trying to say? What do these chapters look like? What's it even mean to write 20,000
mhm,
words? What are some writing prompts? And then I just noticed that I had to put it away and like
mhm.
abandon the stuff that was on the page and like just
Yeah.
word vomit my real thoughts and then go through like shockingly the age old process of just like revision and
Editing.
edit and like
Yeah.
peel away. But that process felt enriching and nourishing to my soul. And I'm going to bring this back to the personal brand on LinkedIn. Whereas all the AI stuff, it's like, I get it, it's impressive, but there's a reason they call it AI Slop. It's literally like, it's just everywhere now. So by trying to write it organically, it was just like tapping parts of me emotionally that felt human, that made me feel better and more alive. So I brought it back to LinkedIn. Like when I first took a strategy on LinkedIn,
Huh?
it was like literally all AI generated, and you get some views and you're like, all right, but then I was just like, no, what do like I really want to say here? And then just
Right.
say it. And so now what I've felt is that the process, instead of it feeling draining and soulless, like it feels fun and engaging. And it's hysterical, some of the conversations you get to have, because it's like all the AI slop is creating this void where if you just show up human, like
Yeah.
everyone talks to you. It's so great. So where do you on the sales and personal brand side, how are you steering founders, and where do you see them working together? And then you sort of said how AI fits in for you now, but like what's that final tip for them? Like you do have to use AI on some level, but this is where you use it.
Yeah. So my process is I have and you guys that are listening, like write this down because it took me a long time to arrive at this process. I've been creating content on LinkedIn since 2018. I helped to
Mm,
grow a big consulting agency before I went out on my own, and we were some of the first that were really leaning in to B2B social. And everyone was like, "You guys are
mm,
weird. You're trying to be influencers or something." There's still some like very old YouTube videos of me out there when I was very blonde in
mm,
2019. Um, all of that to say, it's been a really long journey. And so here's how it breaks down. So you've got basically four content pillars. Pillar one is your point of view. So what is the thing about you like that is unique about the way that you look at your industry?
mhm,
So for me, I believe that founders get a bad rap for being not good at sales. The majority of them, it's not that they're not good at sales, it's that they've been gaslit into thinking that they're bad at sales
yeah,
because they've been pressured into using strategies that were never built for them. Um,
mm,
and so that's my starting point. So your pillar one is like, what are you fighting for? Or what are you fighting against in your industry? Your second pillar is going to be like what's the value that you're providing? What do you teach? And so I teach very actionable, realistic sales frameworks that are built for B2B SaaS companies between 1 and 10
mm,
million ARR. I'm not trying to take a playbook from a $100 million company and tell you how you can use it for your 5 million ARR business,
mhm,
because you can't, right? I'm just telling you, here's what works at this stage. And then when you get bigger, you're going to
mm,
need to go talk to somebody else. Um,
mhm,
and when you're smaller, go talk to somebody else too. And I refer people to Rob Snyder all the time. And then
yeah,
your third pillar is like something that makes people care about what you have to say. So like, this. And by the way, I am devoted to volunteering at a rescue dog shelter. And every
okay,
week I post a different dog that's up for adoption. For me,
mm,
mine is entrepreneurship is a spiritual journey. Like
mm,
my journey of growing my company has been like some of the deepest personal growth work that I've ever done, and I didn't know that that's
mhm,
what I was signing up for, but here we are. And
yeah,
so that's also something that I talk about. And then your fourth is and this is kind of a new one, is completely fluffy viral content. Viral. And this is the one that's going to feel the most
mm,
uncomfortable to post, but
okay,
you have to get people to care about you on a personal level and develop a parasocial relationship with you in
yeah,
order to care what you think about things. And in order to do that, you need to like show people who you are. You need to show your personality. Like, what is your sense of humor? So I talk about the gym, I talk about travel,
mhm,
and I talk about
mhm,
like and like fancy coffee shops because I'm super into that. I have like a Google favorites
yeah,
list full of them. And it made me so uncomfortable. I'm like, I'm going to
mm,
talk about the gym. Like no one wants
yeah,
to hear about that. I'm going to post fucking photos of me at the gym.
mm,
Like what is
mm,
this? Like no one's going to take me seriously. And
mm,
all of that content is doing really well. I'm getting followers
Yeah.
from it. People are subscribing
Yeah.
to my newsletter about sales because they found me through a post that I made about travel.
Yeah,
Um,
define parasocial. Most of the people who
yeah,
watch this are going to be director level in corporates, VPs, a lot of CROs and CFOs, and I think they all honestly need personal brands. I agree with you.
everyone.
I
Yeah,
don't I don't think they understand what parasocial means, and I that's kind of like the magic ingredient of why
it
this
is.
works.
I'm happy to break it down. So, we talked about Alex Hormozy earlier, right? What is Alex Hormozy really talking about that's that new? He taught gym owners how to sell gym
Mhm.
memberships. There's a lot of people that do what
Mhm.
he does. Why is he Alex
Mhm.
Hormozy? It's because we've seen him on video so many times. We know his wife
Right.
Layla, we know his backstory. We
Right.
care about him as a person, and so that means that we automatically care
Yes.
more about what he thinks about any given thing. It's the same reason that we have celebrity gossip. It's because we see these
Mm.
people so much, our little
Right.
brains that haven't evolved as much as technology has evolved, we don't know the difference between seeing someone and knowing them. And so the
That's
more
right.
that people see you, they feel like you're part of their community, and then they care more about what you have to say about everything.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's I would the cherry on top, I would say it's like if you walked up to Alex and you're like, "Oh my God, Alex, it's so good to see you. How you been?" And he's like, "Who are you,
The
dude?"
hell are you? Yeah.
That's the parasocial. You're ready to buy. What so now tell a founder why that's so powerful in his or her sales cycle.
Yeah. So, we were talking about Lovable a little while ago, the personal brand of Anton, and also of like a lot of the employees at Lovable is one of the really big reasons that they grew so fast. There's
Mm.
this insane, and like as soon as I said Lovable, you were like, I love Lovable. People
Yeah.
have almost a parasocial relationship with the company because
Mm.
every single person at that company is encouraged to build their personal brand. They are all
Mm.
posting about things that are happening. The engineers are posting about releases that are coming out. And so when you multiply that across, let's say your company has, you don't have to be a huge company. I mean, Gong also famously did this back
Yeah.
in the day. Um,
Yeah.
but you don't need to have hundreds of employees. Let's say that you've got 20 employees. So everyone's
Yeah.
got a company page, and everyone, puts out like once a month. They're like, here's our new product releases on our company
Yeah.
page. No one reads that shit. Now
Yeah.
imagine you take that message and you have 20 different lenses on it, and it's going out to 20 different people's audiences. How
Yeah.
many people follow your company page versus the combined followers of every single
Yeah.
person that works at your company? And they're all going to speak to a different niche, right? Like your salespeople,
Mm.
they have other salespeople in their audience. Your product people, they've got their own thing. Like
Mm.
your executive team, they've got other people, networks of investors, execs at other companies, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So you just need to have a lot of different ways that people can approach you, and a lot of different ways that they can engage with your message. And the other thing that I would say is that across any type of business, I don't care if you're building a software business, a lawn care business, a consulting business, a rev ops business, like
Yeah.
execution, content in terms of knowledge and ideas are plummeting in value on a freaking daily basis. And so in the future, the only moat that all of us have is to cultivate a personal brand. That's
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
Because like there's the things that like only you can do
Yes.
are are
Or only you can
narrowing.
be.
Or
It's
only you can be.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But the one thing that only
That's
you can
an
be is yourself.
yeah, okay. Yeah, I understand. So yeah, the things that only you can do is narrowing, but you will
Yeah.
always only be able to be you. That's such a hot take on the business brand because it's easy to look at the headlines lately and say, okay, brand marketing is kind of dying.
Yeah.
But actually, what you just described is the more accurate definition of an organization, which is an
Yeah.
organization of other organisms.
That's right.
So if everyone has personality, personal brand, the organization is being branded. That's really I wonder why I'm not hearing more about that now. That's really big.
I'm
That's
also
like a go ahead.
yeah, I'm also really surprised that more people aren't talking about it because it's not a new strategy. So,
It's not.
like I
Yeah.
mentioned, like I noticed years ago Gong was doing this, and that's why
Yeah.
So many salespeople at Gong now have massive followings and they're selling
Yeah.
courses because they had a strategy that other companies have now followed, Lovable being one of them, where anytime
Yeah.
that one of their employees posted, they had an internal Slack channel, all the other employees would immediately go and like start engaging and would boost that post up. So everyone got great
Yeah.
reach right out of the gate, great engagement.
You know,
And
okay,
they
I
got
found
audiences
the
that
I
way.
found the pushback. The
Yeah.
pushback is because because it's not new, but you know who did it really well originally. So the first one's acceptable. Fitness ambassadors. So a
Yeah.
lot of people know First Form because of the influencers. All right, and everyone
Mhm.
accepted that, but not everyone's buff, so they don't feel like they can do it, you know?
Yeah.
Now, the people who did it way before that were like multi-level marketing
Yeah.
who was so like Amway. So I get so maybe
Uh-huh.
people are like, no, that can't be our strategy because that's Amway. But maybe they had it all along. Like you still remember the name, you know?
Yeah. It's network. I mean, it's you're not forcing people to buy your software to resell it to their friends,
Right.
but what you
Right.
are is you're leveraging other people's networks and like a lot of these companies that people are looking at now that they want to copy, Lovable, Gamma,
Yeah.
Apollo, Sybil, like it's not an accident that everybody's talking about them. It's not just because they all
Mm.
love them so much. They all work with hundreds of influencers, like,
Yeah.
and like all different types of influencers. Gamma worked with Gamma hired Rainn Wilson from The Office to make content as Dwight Schrute about Gamma. And
Yeah.
they're just trying all different types of influencer plays, not just traditional B2B people, just to
Yeah.
see what sticks. And
Yeah.
you might not know that because you're probably not seeing all of the content that they're paying to be put out
I
there,
know that
but it's absolutely
your
happening.
your ideal client doesn't have this budget, but like, did you pay attention to the stuff Ryan Reynolds did for like his gin companies and other
No.
things? It's same thing. He'd pull in like pop culture and put them in the ad, and so it's so anyway. The point is, there's a way for you to have influence in the community,
That's
and
right.
like you're not always talking about the investment properties that you build or your landscaping business, etc.
Everything
Um,
everything in B2C is going to B2B, and I just have one closing example of this.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
one of my clients, and I'm really proud of them. They're a fintech company. They sell to like big banks and big like insurance companies in Europe. Like talk about like
Mm,
old school, stodgy. These people are not making viral fucking memes or something like that.
mm,
They are booking pipeline. They booked 7 meetings last
mm,
month as a two-person sales team
mm,
off of LinkedIn. And they're like their CTO has started creating content right now because I mean they're amazing. Like they take
yeah.
everything that we talk about together and they just execute it immediately, which I love about them and they're growing so much. Yeah, their CTO is starting to have viral posts. He never posted on LinkedIn until like 6 months ago.
Well, I do want to talk about that. So,
Especially
do you have a couple minutes?
yeah.
So before we go, what would you tell? And let's be clear, because there's also a company. I mean, I'm still enterprise, but like when $1 million to $6 million company comes to me, I can help them with some things, and I do. But when like
Yeah.
like a brand new startup, like you can't even pay your bills yet. It's like I can't
Yeah.
help you because there's just some things you got to
There's
do
nothing to
first.
help. Yeah.
Right. So let's be clear about who we're talking to. So in that space of like 1 million to 6 million, even to 12 million, what could they do? Well, I guess it's applicable to small guys too, but what could they do right now? Like what makes a difference in LinkedIn or some of the other social media platforms around the personal brand that's not just like what I hate is when I see a fence company or a plumber and they're like, "Hey, if you need your plumbing needs in 70471, give me a call." It's like that's not what we're talking about here. So what do you tell them to
No.
do right away,
Yeah.
like right off the bat?
I mean, unless you did it in like a cool vintage, like Better Call Saul way, and like, yeah, that could be a thing. But anyway, correct. So, I mean, the first thing is like, just think about what you want to say. And I understand if you're, a smaller company, you're busy, you're not going to be able to devote as much time to this as like people who make it, part of their whole job. So if you can post three
Mm,
times a week and those three posts fall in the first three categories that I talked about earlier. So one about your point of view on the industry, one teaching something like valuable to people, talking about frameworks or whatever. And then the third one being something that's personal. And on the personal posts, I find it easier to pick one category of things that you always talk about so that you're not like, I don't know, should I talk about my daughter's like
Yeah.
school play, or like what should I like, just pick one thing so that people know to go to you for that thing. And then I
Yeah.
have a framework for this, which is um content. So you have to create content. You have to send connection requests, and you have to comment.
Mm.
That's
Do
kind of
you
the
I'm holding back on connection requests
why.
because okay, I want you to tell me why not to do it, because I get follows so far. It's I have this thought that like, oh, I've had a quote unquote real career. Everyone I'm connected with, like all the C-suite, all the VP, these are men and women I've actually worked with or done deals with
So,
for the most part.
okay.
Okay, that's great. So I hear repeatedly now, and for everyone listening to this, LinkedIn's a gold. It's been a gold mine for a long time. It's still a gold mine. I just like your message gets through, but I do hear consistently, okay, do the content 3 times a week. Also, what's amazing about LinkedIn is even though I like doing videos, the photos do the like they're so low level. Like if you can show cool things, scarce resources, and be attractive, and like you've got something interesting to say, they perform so well just
They
as a
do.
photo. So no editing. But then the other piece of that advice is like, okay, now go add 10 people a day, like the connection. And I'm just like, but why? So what does that do?
Because we're here to make new friends. Like we're not okay, so your content is going to be shown to a tiny percentage of your followers.
Yes.
So
Yes.
and like if you've been connected with only people that you've worked with, you've been connected with those people for a while, like
Yeah.
what you're talking about has changed, what they're interested in might also have changed. Like people are going to drift in and out of your audience and your attention sphere over time. And
Mm.
so you always want to be intentionally growing your network. I really don't understand why people have this feeling they're like, well, people can follow me, they're going to come to me, but like I'm not going to ask someone to be friends.
Yeah, it's
Like
smug,
it
right? You're
you're
telling me you're
it's
being
like
smug as fuck, Chad.
it's like, okay, it's like basically LinkedIn is a 24/7 party. It's a 24/7 conference
Yeah.
of whatever your dream conference is, right? And so you should act the way that you would act if you went to
Yeah.
your dream conference. And would you just stand there in the corner with a drink in your hand and just wait for people to come and talk to you? No.
That's so
You would be
good.
like, those people look
That's
fun.
so good.
I want to go say hi. I want to introduce myself. So the 4 C's are you have to have your content, basic strategy 3 times a week is a great place to start. You have to comment. So right now, 60 to 70% of the people who find me on LinkedIn find
Yeah.
me through comments.
I
That's where
love
I'm getting
comments.
60 to
It's
70% of my
so
reach.
so rich right now. Yeah.
But you cannot just be like, great post, Chad. Love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, yeah.
Like you
Yeah.
have to like say something. My comments are as deep as my posts. Actually, a lot of my comments
Mm.
end up turning into posts because I'm like, oh, that was good. I should
Mm.
write a post about that.
Mm.
I'm gonna give you guys like a hot tip. I use Whisper Flow. I fucking love Whisper Flow. And it
Oh,
allows you to just write more faster because you're just speaking the comments instead of having to think
oh,
about what to
interesting.
type. Yeah, that really helps a lot. Um, like make lists in Sales Nav of like influencers in your space whose posts you want to comment
Mm.
on, your friends. You can
Mm.
use the LinkedIn search bar to find people that are talking about topics that you want to say something
Mm.
about. And then max out your connection requests every week. Everyone gets a different amount
What's the
depending on their
max? Okay,
it
so
it
okay,
depends. It's
I'm
like LinkedIn's like, here's your social score, and you get it's between 100 and 200 a week for most people.
interesting.
I just go through, I do it like beginning and end of the week, and I'll just go through and add people until LinkedIn tells me I'm out of connection requests, and then it resets. You don't get dinged for maxing out your requests, but you should be intentionally thinking like, these are the types of people that I want to talk to and that I want to get in front of,
Yes.
and I'm going to go find them and I'm going to send a connection request to them. No note, you don't have to put a note unless it's something very specific. And then the last one that almost nobody does, that I don't do enough either, is
Uh,
conversations. So the more conversations that you are having in the DMs, the more
mm.
LinkedIn will show your content to people like that, and the more reach
Yeah.
that you'll get kind of in general. So it's like if you're on a post and you start going back and forth with somebody in the comment section, send them a DM. Like this happened to me
Yeah.
yesterday. I was like, chatting in the comment section on some post, and I said, like, I was like, well, yeah, having hard conversations is basically my entire job description. So this is great. And the guy was like, that's funny. And he sent me a DM and he's like, I really like your
Mm,
job description. We should be LinkedIn friends. And I was like, of course, man. So, it's like, so commenting or content, commenting, connecting. And then once you
yeah.
start to, once you like, you're kind of in a circle of people at the party and you're having a good conversation, you're like, hey, what's up? Do you want to go to the bar and get a drink with me? Like, send them a DM.
Yeah.
And it's
I
just that
actually do. I go into the DMs very quickly, especially off a comment thread. But
that's
one of the
good.
reasons I love having the podcast is because that's the offer. I'm like, hey,
Yeah.
loved your take on whatever. Do you want to do a podcast on? And it's real. It's real for me. So maybe this is the limiting belief because I'm an ops guy by nature. If I think back to my buddy CJ, that great sales guy, I try to ask myself a lot, like, what would CJ do? And so in
Right.
your networking mixer event, what would CJ do? CJ would be shaking hands and like making connections.
Yeah.
And I promise you, I'd be sitting in the back corner looking for the first nerd available to talk about some nerdy clay stuff. And I don't know, I can't shake that. It's I got to get better
Go
at that, or
so
partner
go
with the seller.
go go find the nerdy clay people and nerd out with them on
That is
LinkedIn.
true. I did. So this morning, though, there was a company that I knew from the periphery. It's recent, so I won't name them. And I already knew one of the founders and the CFO, and the CEO was really doing good content. We were going back and forth on the comment, and I followed him. And then I was like, "Why? Just click the connect button, dog. What's the
Yeah.
matter?" And I did
What's the
it.
deal?
10 minutes later, he accepted, and I was so it
There
did
you
this
go.
morning. It did help shift. I was like, "There's a CEO that like out of nowhere is just like, come on into the party." So
Mhm.
that was encouraging. Um, all right, if you had a parting piece of encouragement for two people who want to get in sales,
Huh?
what would you tell them? And then tell us about the founders you want to work with, what you want to do with them, and where they can find you.
Totally. So for people that want to get into sales, I think that if you are thinking about getting into sales, you're probably already in sales more than you realize. So
So
give
good.
yourself some credit for that. And I mean, honestly, sales is the easiest job to get into because there are no qualifications. The only qualification is being able to sell yourself in an interview.
Mm,
Apologies to people who might be offended by me saying that. I am also a lifetime sales
mm,
professional. Like I say this out of love, but like I know you can go to college for it now and whatever, but this no one cares. Like the only qualification is being
I
able to
agree.
sell yourself in an interview. That's how I got my first
Yeah.
sales job. That's how we all started. So like literally just go do it. Go do sales. Go sell yourself on a job. Go find companies you want to work for. Cold outreach to them. I've been doing this since I was like 24. I would make prospect lists of companies and just like hit them up.
Mm,
And that's how I got jobs. So if you want to
mm,
be in sales, go do sales for yourself and go get yourself a sales job and just start that way. And there's nothing that is stopping you. There's nothing that's
mm.
holding you back from doing that.
Yeah, I do wish more, especially in today's weird market where a lot of kids went to college, probably didn't need to or probably shouldn't have. I do
Yeah.
wish more of them would take a sales job, even if
Yeah.
you're only just gonna chuck away at it for a couple years.
Hard
You
agree.
build a
Yeah.
lot of skill. Yeah, you build a lot of skills in that process.
You do.
Okay, so what founders, who do you want to talk to? Where can they find you? What are you interested in them seeing?
Yeah, so I work with B2B SaaS founders that sell a mid-market or enterprise product that are on the growth journey between 1 and 10 million ARR that are looking to
Mm,
build a really great sales organization. Um, Sales and post sales, actually. I also work with customer success teams. I'm
mm,
on LinkedIn, YouTube, Threads, Twitter, and Substack, but the best place to find me is LinkedIn. I write there every single day about a lot of the things that we've talked about today on this podcast. And if you want more, you can subscribe to my newsletter from my page, or you can book a call with me.
very cool. Thank you, Monica. And thank you, everyone. If you guys are still with us, if you like this episode, I want you to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.